Hi guys, I Aziz welcome you to CoedMaster. In this video, I am going to talk about iterable and iterators in JavaScript. If you want to learn what iterable iterator is, how it works, and how to implement iterable and iterators from scratch, then this video is for you. So my friend, I highly recommend to watch this video till the end. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Alright guys, so let's start with a simple example. So here I have taken an array with 4 elements, and here we are trying to iterate over all the elements of array, and we are logging on the console. So let's run this program, npm run nodemon, and you can now see the output on the console. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, all the elements of this array gets printed on the screen. Cool. Now let's try to do the same thing with the object. So let's uncomment this code, let's save the file, and boom, we got the error. Now what do you think, why we were able to log the elements of array and not the elements or properties of object? What is the reason behind this error? So this is where iterable and iterator comes into picture. So in JavaScript, the for of loop construct expects the iterables, and in JavaScript arrays are iterable by default. That's why we were able to iterate over all the elements of array and log it in console. But the objects in JavaScript are not iterable by default. We have to make them iterable explicitly, which is why we got the error when we tried to iterate over the properties of object. Great, so far so clear. Now, as I said that array is iterable, we can also iterate the elements of array manually. Let me show you how. So let's comment this out and let's declare a variable with the name iterator, which is equal to arr. We are gonna use the square bracket notation, and here we are going to pass symbol dot iterator, and then we are going to call this function. So what it does basically, symbol.iterator will give us a unique property name where the iterable is stored inside the array. Okay, so this piece of syntax is going to give us an iterable function, and then we are calling the iterable function to get the iterator out of this array. Okay, then we can simply call console.log, and when we call this iterator, it gives us an object. So in this object we have a property with the name next, and this is again a function. Okay, the object which is written by the next function has two properties, one is value and one is done. So let's keep it like this, and let's copy it 4 times or 5 times. Let's save the file, and you will see that the output in the console. So the first console log, the output is value 1 done false, value 2 done false, value 3 done false, value 4 done false, and in the last, as the elements are over, we can see that value is undefined and done is equal to true, which means the number of elements in the array is over, and it basically tells the other default constructs like for of loop to stop the iteration. Great. So far we know that arrays are iterables by default, which is why we were able to iterate over the elements of the array. But in the case of object, as it is not iterable, which is why we got the error. Great. So now what we can do to fix this issue? The idea is simple, that we need to make this object iterable explicitly. So let's see how we can do it. So let's comment this piece of code over here, and let's come here. So in order to make this object iterable, we need to understand two concepts. Number one is the iterable, and number second is the iterator. Now what is iterable? So iterable is nothing but it's a function. Okay, it's a function which helps us in customizing the behavior of iterator. Okay, so it helps us in customizing the behavior of iterator. Okay, customize behavior of iterator. And what iterator is? it is just an object which produces the sequence of value. That's it. This is what we need to understand, that iterable is a function which helps us in customizing the behavior of iterator, and iterator is an object which produces the sequence of values. If you didn't understand this definition now, don't sweat. We will implement the iterable and iterator, then it will be very easy for you to understand it. Okay. So now let's start with the first thing, which is iterable. So iterable is a function. So we have to add one function inside this person object. Okay. What will be the name of the property? The property name is fixed by the JavaScript engine, and the name of that property will be given by symbol.iterator property. Okay. And it's going to be a function, and this function is a no argument function. So let me explain a little bit about symbol.iterator. So if you don't know about symbol is just a built-in objects in JavaScript. Okay, and iterator is a static property on symbol which gives us a unique ID which helps us in computing the property of this person object. Okay, and it is fixed by the JavaScript engine. Okay, so far so great. So we have implemented the iterable so far. Now this function becomes iterable. And why we need to make this function iterable? So that the JavaScript built-in construct like for of loop recognize the object as iterables, right? This is why we need to implement the iterable first. Now next thing, we are going to implement the iterator. So iterator is nothing but it's a object. So we need to return an object. And this object has a next property. Okay, and the next property is nothing but it is a function. Great, so far so great. Now the language construct for a loop is going to use the object written by the iterator to loop over the elements of the object. So we need to implement this. So let's implement this. So first of all, we want to store the reference of the object, and the object we will get with the this keyword. Why is it so? Because when we loop over this person object inside the iterator, this keyword value belongs to this object, which is why we are storing the reference of the person object into the object variable. Great. Now next thing, we want to extract all the keys of this object. So let's call keys, which is equal to object dot keys, and we are going to pass object into this keys function. Great. And now we are going to define one index variable to track the index of the keys. Okay. Now we have all the sufficient variables. Now we can implement the next function very easily. In the next function, we are going to write if index is less than keys dot length, then we are going to return something, and if not, then we are going to return something. So this condition says that we still have elements left in our keys array. So in this case, we are going to return an object. In this object, we have to return two properties, as I explained before. One is the value, and the second one is the done. And in this case, we have elements left in the array, so we are going to return done as false. And in the value, we are going to return the value of each key. So first of all, we have to figure out the key. So we go to keys, and then we go to index of the current index. Okay, and then once we get the key, we are going to go to object and find the value of this key, and later on we will increment the index by 1 so that we can find the next key in the next iteration. Okay, and if this condition is false, then we can simply return an object with two properties in it. The value is going to be undefined because we don't have any more elements left in the array, and the property of done is going to be true, so that the for of construct knows that the object has no more keys left in the object and it stops iteration. Let's format the code. And now I think we are good to go. This is our final implementation of iterable and iterator function. So let's check once again. We have symbol.iterator, which is a function. When we call this function is going to get us an object. In this object we have one property with the name next, and it is again a function. We have index, keys of these objects, keys of this object, and then we have this as the person object. We are iterating all the keys of this object by checking this condition, then we are returning value and done. So far so good. Now let's try to use for a loop on this person object. Let's scroll a little bit. Let's uncomment this code. Let's save the file, and you can see all the values on the console, which is a first name, last name, mobile and email. Cool. So right now we are returning only the values of each keys. If you want to return keys as well, you can do it. How you can do it? You can simply return an object instead of this value. So what you can do, in the value you can write key and then you can write value. The value will be the same, and for keys you can just write keys and index, as simple as that. Let's save the file, and you will see that you are getting now keys and values in the console. So this time the value is an object which has two properties, key and value, and you can extract the key and value from this value and you can do whatever you want. So this is the final and straightforward approach to implement the iterator in JavaScript. Alright guys, this is all from my side for this video. If you learned something valuable from this video, then please hit the like button in order to make YouTube algorithm happy. Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so my friend you never miss any upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.